Well, welcome to Paratruth Radio. My name is Justin.
And I'm Eric.
And if you guys have never heard us before, but you recognize the voice, I should say, if you've never seen our show before but recognize the voices, we've been around for a while, but this is our new and improved show, so let's get started with it.
Indeed. How you doing today?
I am fantastical. How about yourself?
Well, first of all, fantastical is an odd word to be using there.
That word, so it's a word in my own
in your own dictionary, right? Right. All right. I'll let that one go then. I'll let it slide this time. Yeah. Let's not make that a normal thing, no, man. Anyway, things are going well over here. It still seems a little odd doing a show, from two different states. I still kind of miss we were in the same room doing the show.
But maybe this way we won't have as many sound problems as we did.
That's true. You know what? For those of you just tuning in who've never heard us before, in the very beginning, what was it, like 2009, I think? 2008, 2009?
2009 is when our first episode aired.
And that was here on Blog Talk Radio. We were on here for almost a year, I think, before switching over to CBS Radio.
Yep.
But when we first started, we had professional microphones. But considering the area we were in, the very high-tech basement of my house, which wasn't very high-tech at all, other than the nice microphones, which were nice to look at.
Yeah.
But whenever I would talk into my microphone, Justin's microphone would pick up my voice. So you'd always hear like double or triple words every time we talked. So you'd hear like, so today on, I'll just say Paratruth. Here on Paratruth Radio. It's like, what? It's so annoying.
Well, to give everybody a little bit of education about us, we started on Blog Talk Radio, as Eric said. We went to CBS Radio and then kind of split ways and had two separate shows, and now we're back on Blog Talk Radio together again. So,
I'm excited for it because I've actually missed Blog Talk Radio a lot.
And it's come such a long way since 2009. So,
agreed. I agree. And, I think a lot of people out there probably ask us why would we prefer to be on Blog Talk Radio compared to like a bigger network such as CBS Radio. Considering that's in a sense more mainstream, if that makes sense. But yeah. When it comes down to it, Blog Talk Radio allows you to do a lot of things that the more mainstream networks don't allow you to do. It's much more relaxing to be on Blog Talk Radio.
Not only that, even though it's Blog Talk Radio, Paratruth Radio is our station. It's our channel. It's nobody else's compared to the other networks that we were with, where it was controlled by the quote-unquote owners, and this is us controlling it. So I love this setup a lot better.
Oh, yeah. It's good to be back. That's for sure.
It's good to be back in action as well. It's been at least 3 years for me. I don't know how about
about 2 years now, I think, for me.
Maybe it's 2 for me. I lose track of time. So.
It's because you got so much going on.
I'm thinking it's partially Alzheimer's kicking in. 33 years old. I'm over the hill.
I got a lot to look forward to.
All right, folks. Today's episode is on Friday the 13th. One of the main reasons we picked this is, one, my birthday was this past Friday, which was Friday the 13th. Did you also know that it was also a full moon on Friday the 13th this year?
You know what? I'll tell you the easiest way to figure that out was to look up at the sky.
Well, it was posted all over Facebook.
That's another way, or, run into someone on the street and like, hey, oh my gosh, there's a full moon on Friday the 13th. This isn't going to happen again until what, like 2040 something? That's like
48, yeah.
48. So, well, it's kind of cool. And guess what? I never once looked at the sky. I completely forgot about it. Because it wasn't that important.
Well, I guess it was a strawberry moon, too, which is...
So it was delicious.
Yeah, unless you're allergic to strawberries. And
yeah, throw a little sugar on top of that one.
It would have killed you.
What is a strawberry? I mean, I know the blood moon. What the heck is a strawberry
I didn't
moon?
ask. I don't know.
You probably saved yourself a couple of minutes there.
Jamie's the one that told me. I didn't go further into it. I'm like, strawberry moon, okay. Not sure what it is, but okay.
It's the pretty moon. Yay.
And both she and her boyfriend were like, does that not make it a full moon? She goes, well, yeah, it's a full moon. And we're like, okay, it's a full moon. Who cares if it's a strawberry moon?
Oh, goodness. You know what? That's a good thing about having, just doing radio is in order to find out something that we don't know during the show, I could just jump online and find it out. So I'm going to do that right now.
That's how far radio has come. Not only is it on just radio waves, it's internet radio, which we're doing right now.
Right.
And back in the day, to do research, you had to do a buttload of research before you did your show, because otherwise you were screwed. You had no easy way of accessing it.
Oh, man.
Let me know what you find out there, buddy.
Oh, I'm working on it.
Anyways, that's one of our main reasons for starting Friday the 13th as our beginning episode. Not only that, it's kind of an easy show just to ease ourselves back into doing this all over. And just for whoever's listening out there right now as well, we'll probably be doing a couple episodes by ourselves first before we start introducing guests. It's been a really long time.
Yeah, so forgive us if it's a little rusty today and next week. For the next couple of years.
It took us, a year and a half to get comfortable once we were on Blog Talk for a year, and then shortly after that is when we got on to the other network, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, when we first started, back in 2009, I mean, me especially was very, very sketchy. You could tell anyone listening at that time, you could tell it was my first time on radio, considering how shaky I was when I talked,
Yeah.
Because just my nerves are shot.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like doing my part of the show, and in the background, Justin sitting across the table. We had a square table that we sat at, and like I'm talking, and he's looking at me like doing all these hand motions and stuff, trying to tell me to relax. Like it's okay. I'm like, well, here we are, just doing whatever.
Sadly enough, that's how I felt doing Kellen's wedding last year too. So I remember the feeling well because it just happened not that long ago. Mm. Not only that, we did a lot of okay, a lot of filler that didn't need to be there.
So here's the info on the strawberry moon.
All right.
One would think that a strawberry moon means that it probably has some kind of pinkish tint or something to it, but that's not true. That's not actually true. It is actually a little interesting. Obviously, we all know what a full moon is and why it's full, but the reason it's called a strawberry moon is because when the full moon happens in June is actually the short season during which strawberries can be harvested. And so whenever there's a moon in June, it's called the strawberry moon.
That's actually quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, on top of that, I am super excited for Eric's Random Fact of the Day because it's been 2 years since Eric's Random Fact of the Day.
I couldn't help but laugh just listening to it as I was creating it. I forgot like how we put it together.
The ending bit of sound is the best part of the whole thing, but
it's the unexpected things that make it nice.
Along with our intro and outro.
Which has also come a long way, considering our original intro that you just told me that you listened to recently.
Actually, 2 separate intros when we were on Blog Talk, because the first one was me with my demon voice, and the second was us singing like dumbasses to an offbeat song that shouldn't have been picked.
I'm going to tell you, everybody out there listening right now, that song that we made is held deeply rooted in my heart because it was awesome. But by no means will anyone on the face of this earth ever hear it again who isn't related to us or knows us in some way. So
unless you are close to our hearts and will not laugh at least the first few seconds.
You can't listen to that song and not laugh. Anyway,
I couldn't help but just laugh as soon as it started because I knew everything that was coming.
Well, what makes it that much funnier is how long it took us to come up with the words for it.
I know.
Sitting around the pool table.
Sadly, I let you do that part because I was like, I don't know, dude, just come up with something. Let's figure it out.
You know better than to do that.
All right, so Friday the 13th. Most people don't realize this, but not until the 19th/20th century, no record has ever been found about the superstition of Friday the 13th. That specific day.
Right. And it was actually first referenced in a book, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was first referenced in a book, which, let me find the reference here.
A book by Henry Sutherland Edwards, I believe, 1869 biography.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's when it was first noticed, because this was a guy who actually had a fear of Friday the 13th. Because, well, back in the 19th century, people had a fear of Friday, people had a fear of the number 13. They believed that both days of the day and the number were unlucky. So the two combined, of course, would have been really unlucky.
Right.
And this guy here, Henry Rossini was... Who was Rossini? It gets confusing when you do research sometimes. There's so many names that you have to remember. But Rossini, he was afraid of Friday the 13th. It was one of the things that he always dreaded.
And oddly enough, he ended up dying on Friday the 13th, which kind of sets up the fear factor there, you know?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but if my fear was of Friday the 13th and I died on Friday the 13th, my ghost would still be here right now trying to figure out why I died on the day that I fear the most.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, which this is a fact that not too many people know, what famous horror movie character has the same birthday as me? If you think about it and the day that just passed and what we're talking about, you'll be able to tell me.
This is the question you're just putting out for everybody?
No, it's for you.
Oh.
Are we talking about...
For anybody else at this point, so I'm just talking to you.
Got to be a little more specific there. So are we talking about the character himself, or are we talking about the person who plays the character?
No, the character themselves.
Jason Herpes.
Jason Herpes?
No, I didn't say herpes.
This is back to our other show.
Oh gosh, and this is part of the reason.
Yes, Jason Voorhees was born on June 13th, on Friday the 13th.
Let's not get back to those roots.
That'll be the only reference we ever have.
Jason Voorhees.
All right. I think it's a good spot to take our first quick break, don't you think?
I agree.
Okay. All right. We're going to have a quick song, but first, Eric's random fact of the day.
All right.
Now, Eric's random fact of the day.
Did you know that some people actually have a phobia of Friday the 13th? This can be an issue for some businesses around the world. According to the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute in Asheville, North Carolina, more than $900 million in revenue is lost on Friday the 13th due to individuals' fears of flying, spending money, and working.
This was Eric Frando's Fact of the Day.
Welcome back, everybody.
Oh gosh, what the heck was that?
Just a shout out to my roommate because that's how he welcomes back all of his viewers on YouTube.
I like it. That's funny. Unexpected, that's for sure.
Right. All right, so we're talking about Friday the 13th. If you don't know who we are, we're Paratruth Radio. I'm Justin.
I'm Eric.
And we were just touching on where the fear of Friday the 13th came from. It has not been around as far as people can find in written history before the 19th, 20th century. Prior to that, it might have been a fear, but since it wasn't written down, we'll never know.
Well, I mean, let's think of some of the ways or reasons that Friday or that just the number 13 in general is considered unlucky. In numerology alone, I mean, when you look at history and look at the world and the universe and how God created everything, and how people just kind of organize the days and the time and so on and so forth, we notice that the number 12 is used a lot. And we actually see that in the 12 months of the year, for one example, of 12 hours of the clock during the day, the 12 deities of Olympus, 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ,
Yep.
the 12 signs of the zodiac, and so on and so forth. It just continues on and on. And so, of course, a lot of people in the past have regarded the number 12 as more so the lucky number, the divine number that God used throughout history. And so the number 13, coming right after, obviously, the number 12, would be deemed unlucky. And that's seen in history as well. For example, you think of the Last Supper with Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples. Counting Jesus, there were 13 people total. And a lot of people believe, for whatever reason, scholars, there's people who
read the Bible or people who don't read the Bible, which is even more interesting to me, as to why they believe this, that Judas Iscariot was the 13th person to show up at the Last Supper. And because he was the man who delivered Jesus or betrayed Jesus into the hands of the authorities, it's believed that the number 13 is unlucky. And then that, of course, goes into why Friday is unlucky as well. In regards to Christianity, Jesus was crucified on a Friday. It's also believed by scholars that Judas, after realizing what he had done, delivering an innocent man over to the authorities to be tortured and then crucified, went ahead and hung himself. And they believe that he hung himself also on a Friday. So then you have the 13th person at the supper hanging himself on a Friday. Hence, Friday the 13th is an unlucky day.
That's one thing that I found kind of interesting. It doesn't matter what religion you come from, no matter what type of background you come from. Most religions, most walks of life have the number 12 as some type of, I don't want to say holy number, but for lack of a better word, holy number as the number 12.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things that I was looking through here and saw, one of my all-time favorite old school stories is the Canterbury Tales, which came out in the 14th century-ish, which also throws the Friday unlucky day as well, because that's when the unlucky day to undertake journeys came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I also didn't realize, too, that Friday the 13th plays into the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. And some of these books I had never heard of, like Born in Blood, The Lost Secrets of Freemasonry, which, if you don't know a whole lot about Freemasonry, it's another religion that came from Freemasons who founded our country. They were believers in Christianity, but kind of broke off from that. And Freemasonry had more along the lines of Jesus had descendants, and those descendants were the ones that were to rule the countries. If just a history on Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really interesting to read about this because I honestly didn't realize so many variations came from just this particular day, Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah, and it was. It's been known since the 19th century. So it's something that people always have in the back of their mind. I think when Friday the 13th comes around, even if you don't believe in the day being an unlucky day,
right?
You know that it's considered an unlucky day, or not the most eventful day. These are in a good way.
Right.
But once the movie came out, Friday the 13th, that was 1980 that it came out, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
That particular movie just kind of set the cycle that much more. In today's time.
Huh. That's where our era. Like Friday the 13th run.
Yeah.
So, and kind of going back to the Freemasonry and the history that I was looking through, Friday the 13th, October 1307, was a huge arrest of the Knights Templar in France. So, to me, for people to say before the 19th century it wasn't documented that it's an unlucky day, for the Knights Templar, yeah, it was a pretty unlucky day. They got arrested. Not only that, the Knights Templar were the army of Christianity through the what war was it?
This is more your area than mine, brother.
It was a holy war. The crap.
Well, while you're thinking about that, let me add a little something here because
you do that. I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah. In regards to the Knights Templar, very interesting thing because they did consider themselves holy warriors or Christian warriors fighting for Christianity, which was really interesting when you look into the biblical text of the Christian text, especially in the New Testament. Of course, we see a lot of war in the Old Testament, but when the New Testament came along, we learned about Jesus Christ, who told us specifically to love our neighbors. You know, if you were to get struck on your cheek, turn the other cheek as well. If someone takes your coat from you or something, give them your cloak, your shirt. You're supposed to be very humble. And so to think that these people were going out of their way to basically push forward the Christian belief by striking down and killing people after the New Testament came out, just kind of a little rough there, you know.
And I found the name, the Crusades. Okay. I don't know why I couldn't come up with the Crusades. It was in the documents that I'm looking at, and for some reason I couldn't even look through to find the Crusades. So yeah, but throughout time, any religion has been felt justified by killing people in the name of whatever god or gods that they believed in.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because most religions, if not all religions, have some type of peace written into their holy book. So to fight over something that is really just up to whoever you are is kind of weird to me, especially Christianity, which holds high to many people. So I don't know. On that note, we're going to switch to the next part of Friday the 13th. One thing that I found really, really interesting was that there was a lot of people that believed that Tuesday the 13th was the unlucky day, not Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm, that was the Hispanic and Greek cultures.
And which neither of us come from that we know of, but I was huge into Greek mythology, and since 12 was big in that religion as well, I can understand why the 13th day, especially an unlucky day that was considered Tuesday at that time, because it was influenced by Ares, the god of war, which was a very horrific god. If you don't know who Ares is, research Ares. It may even come up on this show at some point. But so yeah, Tuesday the 13th was back in, I don't know the year. But it also goes back to the Crusades as well. The fall of Constantinople happened on Tuesday the 13th, April 13th, 1204.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird that the Crusades happened that soon in our history, because most people say, oh, that was a long time ago. That's actually more recent than, I don't know, Jesus' time. So
yeah. Well, and it fell again to the Ottomans on another Tuesday, which wasn't the 13th, but it was still another Tuesday back in 1453, which once again solidified that Tuesday is an unlucky day.
Yeah.
For that culture.
So, just to give you guys a little bit of history, that Friday the 13th isn't as nearly well known as Tuesday the 13th, which kind of sounds weird rolling off the tongue because Friday the 13th just kind of rolls together.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's because of our generation and the movie that scared the crap out of everybody. I think it's probably a good time to take another quick break before we finish up here for the evening. So we're going to have another quick music. Unfortunately, we don't have another random fact of the day as much as we love them. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, folks. I have to apologize for the music that I've played this evening. Even though the first one was okay, that one was not as great as I thought it was. It was just something I kind of grabbed. As
you don't listen to the music that you play on here?
I'm going to take over music department.
I thought I recognized it, but apparently I didn't, because it reminded me way too much of the Beastie Boys, so I have to delete it completely out of my music repertoire.
Oh, gosh.
All right, getting back to Friday the 13th. One thing that I saw from our heritage, which we're not Italian, we're Sicilian, but from Italian popular culture, Friday the 17th, not the 13th, is considered a unlucky day. And it baffles me how it kind of goes everywhere as far as the unlucky day of the month or of the year or whatever, because it goes from Friday the 13th to Tuesday the 12th and then Friday the 17th.
Right. Which is still, you got to wonder how far. I couldn't find anything as to how far back that goes for Italy, like why exactly the 17th. But what I did learn is that due to basically Americanization, a lot of the young folk over there, whether young adults and younger, truly do believe that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day. So we're kind of like pulling them from their own roots, believing that it's the 17th that's bad, and instead it's the 13th. Unless they believe both days are bad, in which case that's just double the unluckiness for them. But it's kind of
America pulling other countries out of their comfort zone.
I was gonna say, it's funny how America tends to it reaches out to people, that it really affects other countries.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not always in the most positive way.
No, and don't get me wrong, America, I love living here. I would not want to live anywhere else as far as location, but there are just way too many controversies here in the United States of America. So, I don't know how Friday the 13th, other than the couple of things we've seen, has been solidified in our culture as an unlucky day. Other than Friday was an unlucky day, the 13th was an unlucky day, so they just slammed them both together and said, guess what? This is an unlucky day.
Right. And as we've already learned, even just through the show, history, in a sense, repeats itself in regards to something bad has happened on Friday and the 13th, Friday the 13th, several times over, as far back as we know. It could have been a lot longer, more than that. But as far as we go back to the 19th century, for as much as the books are written, it's kind of like pretty much if something happens to you enough times, it's a bad omen, Like, here's one for me. I had Steak and Shake once, back when I was a sophomore in high school. That was quite a long time ago. And I got sick from it. Till this day, and I'm 28 now, I will not eat Steak and Shake. So it's like, if something bad happens to you even once, you kind of get it in your mindset that it's a bad thing to enjoy. It's a bad, you can't eat this food because it made you sick. And it's the same thing with Friday the 13th. Something bad happened on this Friday the 13th, and a few years later something bad happened again. Oh no, it must be a very bad day, and we should all lock ourselves in our houses and not go anywhere. At least that's how I feel.
That's like Denny's for me. I don't think I've ate at a Denny's in a long time after certain things came out of orifices of my body after eating there.
Okay. This is a completely different topic now. Getting into body snatcher type stuff.
All right. Well, not to veer off course any more than we already have, but I was just looking through some of the people we had in contact with the older show on Blog Talk Radio, and CJ EVP Radio, who we had on our show back in the day, is still running in 2014.
That's awesome. I kind of remember the name. It doesn't like pop out at me. I don't remember having.
Yeah, her name was Christine, but her
Okay, there it is.
JEDP Radio. Yeah.
Yeah, there. See, now that you mentioned that it was a woman and Christine, now that kind of I got it. I remember that show. That was if I'm not mistaken, that was an interesting episode.
Yeah, that was the one that kind of made infamy for us through Blog Talk and the other radio station we were on for vulgarity.
Yes, and that's why I remember it. I remember like it was yesterday because we ended up getting that phone call, and we all played along with it.
Yeah. And then we got it again after we hung up on that person.
Oh gosh.
The naive person that I was like, oh, this is just another caller. Eric's like, no, dude, no, it's the same person. Like, no, it's a different number. It'll be fine. Nope, same douche that called last time.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it used to get pretty crazy on our show back then.
I'm honestly glad that we cleaned it up for the other network, and then once we got back to here, we're like, okay, no more vulgarity, at least to a very bare minimum.
It can be more professional.
Yeah.
We weren't very professional in the beginning, that's for sure.
No, we were two kids that wanted to do something that over alcohol and campfires.
Yeah.
So some of our best ideas, which was our old show, which eventually evolved into this show.
Okay. Well, yeah, and unfortunately some very bad ideas, such as the infamous s'more dog.
I was just telling Shelly about that the other day.
Even to this day, I think about it, I feel a little queasy.
Yeah, I get sick to my stomach. And the funny thing was the first time we ate it, we're like, oh, this is so good. Next round, which was not more than 10 minutes later, we're like, this doesn't taste good anymore.
Oh, gosh. We've come a long way since those days.
2009 is now 2014. Oddly enough, shortly 5 years, but it seems so much longer.
It does. It really does. Which is surprising considering time seems to go by so quickly.
Isn't that the odd thing? Like, this can probably be a whole nother episode for us, but like, you live a whole lifetime in a year, and yet it seems to go by the quickest, and it gets quicker every year you age because your perception of time has changed from when you were 5, where you're like, oh my God, would school just end already?
Well, I've got to say that sometimes it's still like that. But summer vacation, on the other hand, or just doing anything fun, seems to go by really quick. Work in particular drags.
So, all right. We've got roughly 15 minutes left of the show, so let's wrap up on Friday the 13th here. As everybody heard through Eric's random fact of the day, that there are stress management and phobia centers in Asheville, Asheville, Carolina.
It's Asheville, North Carolina, not Nashville. That's a completely different state, sir.
So they might have a
no
management and phobia center. You don't know that. You don't know.
No.
The rate of accidents is actually less on Friday the 13th than any other day of the year, proven by the Dutch Center for Insurance Statistics on June 8, 2008, mostly because most people are not going out or deviate from their normal daily tasks so that nothing bad does happen.
I believe that. I also think just people traveling in general, we have a lot of people speeding or drinking and this and that,
Yeah.
I think they take it a little more careful when driving, and they look both ways and walking and stuff like that, It's really kind of sad to think that you need a particular day that's considered unlucky for people to clean up their act.
Very true.
I mean, why not just start this right now and say that every single day of the year is unlucky? And within the next 2 or 3 years, no one's going to get hurt.
And you would think that alcohol companies would say, seeing as drunken driving is kind of frowned upon in most cultures.
Kinda.
That they'd be like advertising Friday the 13th, the best day to get drunk at home.
Ay.
But yes, somebody should have came up with every day is unlucky. Don't go out drinking and driving. It's going to cause some issues. And oddly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but through my research, I never found any type of horrible airplane accidents or any type of demangled people in car accidents on Friday the 13th. Did you find anything like that?
You know what? There is some info, but it's info that I don't completely understand due to the fact that it includes a lot of mathematics. And anyone listening to the show who knows me, you know what? I'm sure none of you know this who's listening right now. But if you did know me, you'd know that I just finished my very last math course for school this past spring. And that very next day, I made a vow to never, ever use math again the rest of my life. So, since the...
You can't do the math anyway.
I can't do the math. I can't do it. But, I mean, there have been things that have happened on Friday the 13th. But what's interesting is that, like Delta Airlines in particular, and there's another airline too, I can't think of which one it is. I want to say Frontier maybe. I can't remember. But they actually don't have any loss in revenue on Friday the 13th like other companies do. So they see absolutely no effect whatsoever.
You would think they would, yeah. It was Continental and Delta.
Continental and Delta.
Which are two of the biggest,
right?
By the way, and if two of the biggest didn't have any loss in revenue, it's kind of odd.
Well, it also kind of makes sense though too, because if you go with one that's not as big of a company, you kind of wonder how the mechanics on the plane are.
Well,
you choose to go with the more pricey airplane.
Yeah. Well, and most everybody that don't know us, Eric actually finished school for
yes,
some type of cleric in the church.
You don't even know what I graduated school for.
I couldn't come up with the word.
Oh gosh.
Anyways, but he's also going back to school to be a director / actor, both.
The actor.
Producer.
No. You know what? Let me take this over because you're doing Friday the 13th right now and just slashing it to pieces.
Hey, Friday the 13th slasher movie.
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm going for, man.
No, you weren't. Don't lie.
I was. You know what? Sometimes I wonder why I do a show with you.
Well, seeing as it's...
You're a jerk. Shut up. I'm trying to talk. Anyway. So, I just got my associate's degree in religious arts, which allows me to lead ministries and do a number of things around the church, Christian church in particular. I am starting this coming August, I'm going to be working towards my bachelor's in the film industry, basically, cinematic arts, to become a producer and director. You know, that's my dream. So that's what I plan on doing. And for those of you who don't, you know, I kind of want to do this now because we only have 10 minutes left. We didn't really cover this in the beginning of the show. We have information posted on Twitter and Facebook. There's been some stuff on Blog Talk Radio as to what the show is about, you know, our show, Paratruth Radio. And the word Paratruth actually comes from a combination of Justin's radio show that he had by himself and my radio show that I had. You know, he said at the beginning that we actually split up and went our separate ways at one point, and we created two new radio shows. And so we decided to combine the two. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about mine real quick. I used to be on a show called Forgotten Truth Radio. I was the producer and host for that show. And Forgotten Truth Radio was a paranormal radio show, which kind of put everything in a Christian world perspective. And that's kind of what I'm bringing to this show now, Paratruth Radio. Throughout as long as we have this show, we're going to have a number of discussions, and this is one Friday the 13th, and you might have known throughout the show here that I have touched base mostly on the Christian aspect as to why we believe Friday the 13th to be unlucky. And in the future, we're going to be talking about other things such as aliens, demons, a number of different cryptids out there. And I'm always going to do my best to bring a Christian world perspective to give you more of an understanding as to the biblical side of things and what I believe is Christian. And so that's what I'm bringing to the table here, because I know out there on Twitter and everything, you've seen posts that, and even for the description on this show, that you're going to see or hear about, I forget what I wrote exactly, dark histories and different mysteries of the universe with two perspectives. And I'm bringing the Christian perspective on the paranormal, basically. And Justin, if you can go ahead and give a little idea of what you're bringing.
Well, I don't know if I could follow the holy Christ leader Eric Skurback, but I'll try my best here.
Oh, right.
I come from a show that was called Parasite Radio. It was more along the lines of most paranormal radio shows that you hear. I concentrated more specifically mostly on cryptids, but I did touch on ghosts, demons, aliens, angels, pretty much the whole spectrum. And even though I come from a Christian background and have deviated my beliefs a little bit from that, I can respect the Christian faith and more specifically Eric's viewpoint, because he has not only done a radio show on that, but he also studied through those beliefs. So for this specific show, I thought it would be good to have both perspectives, mostly because A, it makes for a good radio show,
Mm-hmm.
and B, most people don't know the Christian side, or Christian viewpoint, I should say, on any type of paranormal activity.
Right. Agree. So anyone listening to any of my shows, there's going to be times where I'm sure there's going to be a little controversy between our beliefs. But don't worry, because Justin and I are actually cousins, means of blood. So the next week, we'll still be here doing the show together. You have nothing to worry about.
And even though I won't say it will get heated, but we have an argument a time or two on certain perspectives. I respect Eric's standpoint. I'm sure he respects my standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point of Paratruth Radio. Not only are we bringing truth to light through the Christian side, but also truth to the paranormal for people that don't really come from a Christian background, or maybe they are Christian but aren't very religious, whatever you want to call it. It kind of brings truth to both sides.
Right. And in the end, you can't, in my personal belief, you can't live your life knowing just one truth. You need to hear this, both stories of life and of the universe and creation and so on and so forth. And in the end, it allows you to decide for yourself what the truth is. And me, personally, my truth is pretty much everything with the Christian perspective.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, feel free to ask me questions. You can, hit me up in chat. You can call in, whatever. And if you completely disagree with me, that's completely okay. You're not going to get an argument from me. I might give you why I believe what I believe. But don't have any fear. And I've had people on, when we were on a show called Para X, I talked to a lot of people who had the pagan belief, or Wiccan, practiced dark magic, white magic, number of different faiths, Satanism as well. And I think, I gained a lot of trust from them. Most of them did not agree with anything that I said, or that I believed. But we still all had, a good radio relationship, and we got along, and we were able to talk about our beliefs and not have any issues whatsoever. So feel free to ask me any questions you want. I'm sure I'd ask you.
Oddly enough, before the show today, one of the episodes I listened to from the old show was the Satanist, which I'm talking about. I'm not going to say his name because he changed religions again. But I was listening to it, and not even 3 minutes in, I had to turn it off because I don't know what I do know why, but I was getting a very bad feeling. I'm like, I have to change this. I can't do this one. I have to listen to something else.
Yeah, I mean, that was, of course, a very interesting episode, and that was episode 6.
Yeah.
What was that? That was
It was
January, I think, was the month or so. We started in December, I think, or November.
I think it was around November, yeah.
It was around November.
Because I think we had a Christmas episode before that. And then that's around the time that we actually just started having guests on the show.
Yeah.
And I don't know, regardless of your religious belief, any type of subject that has any type of dark energy around it, it's going to cause you some type of uncomfortableness, which happened to me today.
Mm-hmm.
So, not to preach, but stay away from the dark stuff. It's not good for you.
I'm sure we'll be touching on that a lot in the future.
I'm sure we will, but...
and just for everyone out there now, you know, when we do talk about the dark stuff, in regards to dark magic and all that weird stuff, you know, the demonology and whatnot.
Yeah.
You need to know that we're not coming from it as, you know, talking about it as people who don't know what we're talking about. We've actually been there, studied it, done certain things. I'd be willing to fess up to that right now.
Yeah.
So we are coming from an area that we know very well when we talk about the darker side of the paranormal. And then I'll probably say that again many times in the future, just so everyone knows and can relate to us and realize, hey, we're not just two jerks that only know one thing and are trying to persuade you to one side or the other. We've actually been on both sides. So.
Yep. And one thing we didn't do, which we will next episode, is announce that we actually have a chat room on.
Mm-hmm.
And that we have a call-in number, which at 2 minutes, there's really no point in announcing it right now. So next episode, we'll have to make sure we do that as well.
Yeah. Again, you know, first episode in a while, guys. It's going to be a little rusty, as apparently we forgot a couple things. All right. Next week's a new week.
At least we covered our subject.
Yes. Yes, we did. That's a good thing.
All right. Well, this is our chance to wrap up on the 13th. Anything to add for our listeners about Friday the 13th?
Nothing in particular. You know, I don't find it to be an unlucky day for me whatsoever. It's just another day on the calendar. You have to remember that if you believe in something, then whatever it is that you believe in your heart is true to you, and it's going to manifest itself. So it's not something I believe in. It's not something I will ever really believe in, being an unlucky number. But just remember that, you know, if something you truly believe in, it will manifest itself. So be careful.
All right, folks. My name's Justin.
And I'm Eric.
And we are Paratruth Radio.
Peace.